Howdy mates, how are we doing today? It is Sunday, November 27th, 2022, and of course, this is a day for me to truly cherish and remember. I'm finally revisiting a park that I haven't been to in a good while. Last time I was here was clear back in February, so it's nice to be back at a spot that I haven't been to in so long. Where I'm at is known as the Circle B Bar Reserve. This is clear up in Lakeland, so we're talking, you know, a little closer to Orlando, somewhat. But this particular portion of the park is one of my favorites. And I say that because, you know, you have a direct view to my left of Lake Hancock, which is actually one of the largest lakes in this particular area, which is in Polk County. But as you can tell, surrounding the bank is a bunch of bald cypress, which is indeed a very common native conifer down here in the state. As you can tell too, if you look just ahead, right over here, you can see that the coloration of the needles are starting to change. Bald cypress is one of the only known deciduous conifers in the natural world, which in essence, what I'm trying to say is, given that conifers generalize all the pines and spruce and cypress throughout the planet, bald cypress is one of the only couple that lose their needles, whereas most all conifers, on the other hand, are evergreens. So all they simply do is shed their needles, grow new ones, and they always stay green. Hence why we call them evergreens. But that's not really the reason why I wanted to make this video. Particularly, what makes this place so special is Lake Hancock is known to be one of the sources of the Peace River Headwater system. I know that sounds a little fancy, but in essence of what I'm trying to say is Lake Hancock is a crucial body of water that essentially helps form the Peace River, which, by the way, is one of the oldest rivers in Southwest Florida. And in addition to that, much of the population in this part of Southwest Florida relies on this very water for whether it be bathing or even as a drinking source. So, since we're essentially at the headwaters, which is just a way of saying where a river begins, keeping this habitat protected is top priority. Because if we, for any reason, were to contaminate this water source, our water supply would then be polluted. But then, I'm sure you've noticed then, to my right, we have a little bit of a swamp, surrounded by potash, swamp cabbage, live oak, and bald cypress. See, essentially, a swamp is defined as a forested wetland. And really, a wetland is a type of ecosystem that maintains a decent amount of water throughout a year. See, like, you can tell down here, this isn't just grass. What you're seeing, that green mat right there, is what is known as duckweed. And duckweed is I could almost do a whole separate video on it, but duckweed is another purifier when it comes to wetlands. And they're also an excellent food source, too, for our wildlife. So these swamps, or really wetlands in essence, are nature's water purification system. So, you know, with urban development nearby, you know, we tend to use a lot of fertilizers and other various sources of nutrients. The wetland is essentially like a buffer for this given area. So think of wetlands as a filter. They're like our kidneys. They essentially provide the same exact function. So eventually, once the water goes through the swamp, it will eventually empty out into this lake. Now, the idea is we want the water to go through the wetland first, so it has a chance to filter, and then it will go into the lake. Sorry about that, you guys. There was a bunch of chatter of people that was kind of interrupting my video. I'm not saying that I'm necessarily misanthropic, but it's just sometimes a little frustrating. But this is a public park, so at least I am aware of that. So all I have to simply do is just move up a little more. So, yeah, once that water goes through the swamp, it will go into the lake, and it will eventually feed into our Peace River. Now, in Florida, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed too, we have a lot of stormwater ponds, or retention ponds. Do you know why we have those? Well, I'll give you a moment to think about that. Really, why we have all those is to essentially provide the same function. It provides a way for nutrients to be processed by other plants and will reduce the amount of pollution source. So really, our retention ponds, even though they're man-made, those are used to take more of the brunt of the impact, so that our natural systems, on the other hand, don't receive it as highly. So that's why, essentially, we have a bunch of those throughout the state. So, despite them being man-made, they still actually provide a decent service. This is really cool. If you guys haven't been up here, I would totally recommend it. Just because you really get to see the essence of a lake, and then some wetlands, and even a variety of wildlife. So, keep in mind though, whenever you do walk on trails like these, just keep an eye out for other wildlife, especially alligators, because around this time of the year, they do like to bask, and so you just have to be aware that this is their home already. So really the idea, essentially, for this park is to allow us an opportunity to coexist with them. So, alrighty, you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. This one's really worth watching too, by the way. But, not to brag. Alright. Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks. See ya.